Going on, everybody? This is Dr. Jeff down here at Rythmia Life Advancement Center. Your life, fact or fiction? So I want to give you guys a little example. If there's an intersection in a major city and there was a big car accident that happened, somebody ran a red light, there's all this cars smashing each other, and then the accident ended, and the police showed up and they asked everybody what happened. And there's all these observers, there's all these people that are watching, what happened. You're going to get about, let's say there's 20 people that saw the accident. You're going to get 20 different stories about what happened. But if you ask everybody how they felt emotionally during this accident, they're all going to tell you the same thing. I was scared. I was worried. I was concerned. I was nervous. I was in a fight or flight mode. Everybody's going to have the same emotional response. So what's more important? The facts of what they see with their eyes or the emotions that are present during this event? Well, clearly it's about the emotional experience. So a lot of times people that come to Rythmia have some time in their childhood that is blocked out from their memory. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of stuff that happened in their childhood. They don't remember the events. But what they do have is the emotions that were present during that time. And those emotions that were present during that time, that were really scary and fearful and angry and resentful and chaotic and confusing and all this kind of emotion that happened during trauma, those get stored in the amygdala. That's a part of the brain that holds our subconscious memories. And then what happens during a plant medicine ceremony is these emotions surface. And that's how we process trauma, through the emotions. And a lot of people ask me, I don't remember my childhood. It's blocked out. I don't remember much what's going on. And I say, that's okay. You don't need to know. But how did you feel during a plant medicine ceremony? How did you feel when you drank ayahuasca and let these emotions surface? And they said, I felt angry. I felt sad. I was crying. I was yelling because I was pissed off. Or I was confused and it seemed chaotic. I said, good, because that's the emotions that are surfacing. That's what the processing of trauma looks like. People ask me, well, I don't remember what happened. I need to remember. I said, no, you don't. You don't need to remember. It's not necessary. Now, some people do see what happened when they were young or during an event of a blackout. Some people do. But it is not required. It's not necessary. What is necessary is the processing of emotional trauma. This is often called inner child work. This is called trauma resolution. It's called regressive therapy. It's called all these kinds of things in the Western model. You don't need to remember. If you cannot get to that point, you don't need to remember what you experience. You don't need to see it. Some people do, and that's okay, because that can help with the processing, but it's not required. You need to feel what you went through back then and let it surface. I have really good news. It's not something that is overwhelming. It's something you can deal with. People are often very nervous because they come to Rythmia and they know they have some sort of horrific past. They have all kinds of these issues and trauma that's past, happened back when they were young, and they're scared because they know that there's something there. I have good news. You're not 5 years old anymore. You're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, whatever age you are, and you can handle it because now you know that you're not in a dangerous environment. You're not being brutalized, but you have stored up these memories and these emotional memories from the past. It's a neurochemical pathway that's been set in your amygdala, and that stuff is surfacing during a plant medicine ceremony. And I've talked about this before. So let's say I don't remember what happened to me when I was 5. And let's say I was abused from age 5 to 10. So I got 5 years of trauma, 5 years of abuse. I don't remember much about what happened. So I can guess, and we all can, what those emotions were like during that time. Fear, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, chaos, Cool. Okay, so during the plant medicine session, those emotions surface. Let's see, and if I'm afraid of spiders, which I'm not, I like spiders, but let's say I was. Well, a spider is a really good vehicle to help transport my emotions of fear and anxiety. So I see all these spiders, I get scared. And what people often get confused about is like, oh my gosh, these spiders were coming at me. What does that mean? Well, it just means that they were a vehicle to transport your emotions of fear and anxiety. And just welcome it, let it come in, let it pass through you. Sometimes people see demonic stuff and demons and hellfire, and they think, oh, Rythmia is bringing forth all this demonic stuff. No, not necessarily. What's happening is that you are feeling something that's really scary, really overwhelming, very chaotic in a big sort of way. Just breathe into it, let it pass. Let it bring forth this emotion. It's like a vehicle to transport an emotion to your prefrontal cortex. Let it happen. So fact or fiction? Is your life fact or fiction? Well, oftentimes people see, oh my gosh, my grandfather was abusing me. Is that real? And I say, well, let's talk about the history of you with your family. What's it like with your siblings? What's it like with your mom? What's it like with your dad? What's the relationship you have with your grandfather? And I can investigate with you what's going on in your relationships with your family system. And more times out of not, let's say maybe over half the time, there wasn't any sort of abuse that happened from that specific person, but it's a way to let this emotion surface and go through you and move through you. It's really helpful. So your life, is it fact or fiction? Well, if it's a vehicle to transport emotion, then it's fiction what you're seeing. But it's fact, then you know deep in your soul, this is what's going on. You can move past it, you can process it. It's an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool. You guys can also go to therapy for at least 10 years to do this kind of work. You can do that. That's another way to do it. You have to build rapport with the therapist. You have to find the right therapist. And you probably went through 3 or 4 or 5 before you find the right one. And you have to spend about $200 a session. You have to do it for every week for about 10 years. That's another way. I don't recommend that way. I recommend that a therapist can help you point you in the right direction, and then you can sort of get some clarity and some sort of, you can kind of like tee it up like in t-ball. You get the ball on the stick, you can get it ready, and you hit it. But hitting it is about you. It's about your own work. A lot of people in the Western medical model, a lot of clinicians, they pride themselves on being really experienced with a lot of clients and having seen a lot of stuff and being trained and got their doctorate, have all kinds of medical background and therapeutic background, and that's good. That's helpful. But regardless of all that stuff, the bottom line is it comes down to the patient. It comes down to you, the individual. Can you do this work for yourself? Because I can help you. I can help you. I'm going to point you in the right direction. I can give you some tools. I can show you the way. I can point to the door. But the bottom line is you got to open that door. You got to walk in. And are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do this and get those emotions surfaced and open it up, let it surface and pass through you? Because that's the only way the healing occurs. It's the only way. It would be wonderful if somebody could do it for me. I would love to have somebody do this for me. I don't want to go through this because it's hard. It's not comfortable. I don't like it. But nobody can do it for you. And the only way that you heal and that the world changes is that you do your own work and you heal yourself. It's the only way this works. So in order to do that, you have to feel safe. And to feel safe, you have to be in a place that feels safe. That's what we're building at Rythmia. We're constantly striving to have a safe environment for you to do this work. If you went to the jungles of Peru, you might be in a safe place. You might roll the dice and show up at a facility. You might have a good experience, but most people don't. They don't have any integration. They don't have any sort of context to what they're going through. And there's all kinds of people around them that they don't understand or know. And there's no sort of medical controls. And sometimes the shamans are less than ethical, and that's a crapshoot. You're really rolling the dice. And sometimes, like I said, there's places that are amazing. I know a couple, but there's a lot of places that are not good. And you are very vulnerable during this. So do you want to be in a place that's vulnerable with these strangers and all this random crap going on and all this sort of like unregulated things? Or do you want to be in a place that's safe with medical people, therapeutic people, but also a medical license that helps you get to where you need to be, right? That brings safety. Right now we're sold out. We have Graham Hancock here. Graham Hancock is an amazing guest speaker. He's one of our favorites. And he's teaching people about all kinds of great things that correspond with the medicine and about personalities and individual sort of process. It's a really great exposure to like what's going on with all kinds of other ideas and expanding the mind. So, you know, I'm somebody that doesn't want to listen to what anybody tells me, you know. I'm stubborn that way. I don't believe, you know, somebody has their experience and I think that's cool. Like, I like your experience. Your experience is cool and it's insightful for you. And I can understand that you went through some things, and that's great for you. I love it. As doesn't mean anything to me. It means nothing to me because I have my own experience. I have my own unique personality, my own sort of process and what's going on for me. You know, when I was in my doctoral program, I had done a lot of therapy on myself. I had to receive therapy to get my doctorate in psych, and I learned some things, and, you know, I was kind of like, yeah, you know, it makes sense. I grew up in the rough part of Los Angeles, and I understand that I'm a certain way, you know, but I'm a dad, you know, I'm a husband, I'm moving through, I'm working, I'm professional, I'm successful. But one of my supervisors told me, he said, after the year-long internship that I had, he said, I was afraid of you. I was intimidated by you the whole time. I was like shocked. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I was a clinician here at your practice for a year. I do 4 internships in my doctoral, and I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, you're scared of me. No, you need to understand. You're intimidating. You're a person that has this vibe. And I was like, well, that's weird. You know, I don't get what that's about. And when I did plant medicine, I understood what it's about. It was about me protecting myself from people because I was afraid as a little kid. I was scared. And I learned how to be a tough guy, how to keep a buffer between me and the world, me and other people. And I would make people afraid of me. That was something I was carrying as an energy into my practice and into my patient population, into the way I ran my staff, the way I handled things at the rehabs I was managing and all the different places. So plant medicine really helped me understand who the authentic me was. I was just a scared little kid, and I was using this as an energy in my current life. I didn't need it anymore. That was something I needed back when I was 5 to 12 years old. I don't need it anymore. I was not that age. You know, I don't need that anymore. I used it then. It was still carrying over. So my life, you know, was fact or fiction. What's real? And I got to see what was real. And I got to see who I was portraying to the world. I saw who I'd become. And I was able to reunite with my soul through inner child work. And I was able to heal myself and heal my heart. And that's what we're trying to work on with everybody at Rythmia, trying to get everybody to this place. Because if you're not healed, the world doesn't change. Everybody asks, you know, how do we change the world? The world's messed up. There's all this kind of disasters and all this crazy stuff. Well, the way to do it is heal yourself. It's the best way. You know, you can't go, you know, changing all kinds of huge government things and big business and all this crazy political crap. You know, you could try, but the bottom line is if you heal as an individual, everything changes because your vibe influences others around you and they change because this is the human condition. We don't want to be controlled. We don't want to be manipulated. We don't want to be like, just sitting back watching things happen. That's not what humanity is about. Humanity is about taking charge of yourself and owning your flaws and working on them and enjoying the company of others and enjoying who you are as a person and moving forward in a great way. So that's what this is about. So the only way to do that in a real way is to heal your trauma, heal the things that are affecting you. Guilt, shame, anger, resentment, chaos, confusion. That stuff is burdening you. There's nothing you can do in life if you feel that way all the time. You're going to be overwhelmed. Let's handle it. Come down to Rythmia, check out what we're doing. Let's get this thing freaking processed. We're sold out this week. We've got 96 people there. They're all amazing, going through their own work, their own process. This is the easiest job in psychology I've ever had. I just tell people, go up there and drink medicine. I can tell you some things. I can give you some insight. I can help you sort of have context. But the bottom line is, go up there and drink medicine tonight, because you're going to heal yourself. You're going to have a connection with you that's unbelievable, a soul connection. That's what this is. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week. Dr. Jeff, Rythmia Life Advancement Center, Chief Medical Officer, Pura Vida.